Hey, just want to real quick preface the video, kind of give you some clarification on what you're about to watch. Um, Real quick, it's just this video is just not geared for anybody. This isn't a straight tutorial. This isn't structured well. This is literally me coming back into doing YouTube videos and realizing that I just need to start instead of procrastinate, or rather, try to make everything perfect, right? So I'll get back into the swing of things eventually, but just today is just me starting, right? So this video, who is this video for? It's for people that want to learn cloud engineering. It's for people that want to understand Python a little bit. Amazon, AWS, cloud environment. I do not teach you how to create an Amazon AWS account. I do not teach you, Python like super in depth. Yes, I go through the code that we're going to talk about. But by no means am I an expert in Python, and I'm not trying to teach you Python. I'm hoping that you're going to learn a lot in this video by osmosis, right? Like you're just absorbing it, and like I'm going to make mistakes, and you're going to be like, oh wow, yeah. See, I wouldn't have thought of that. And obviously, you'll see that I didn't either. So that's the context I want to give you. Again, thank you for your time. This is one of those videos where, like, if you're just trying to learn, this is one of those videos that if you're blocking off a bunch of time, what will you get from this video? You'll get an idea of mistakes not to make in Python. You'll get an understanding of how to utilize Amazon S3. You'll get an understanding of how to use the OpenWeather API. It doesn't talk about how to create the account. By the way, heads up, when you create that first account with that first API key, it takes several hours. So just a heads up if nobody's telling you that. So you won't be able to start with this project right away. The first thing you should do is make the account, go do some other stuff for a few hours. Like make the account before you're going to work, right? Make the account, go to work, come back, and plan to dive in, and hopefully by then your API key will be available. So that's what I would suggest for OpenWeather. In regards to Amazon AWS, obviously that's just, you can create a free account. If you've never created an account before, you'll get a bunch of cool stuff in regards to free tier. I don't dive into that. I breeze past AWS configure because I've already done it for me. So that's basically it. So if this video is for you, please continue to watch. If not, I respect that. No problem. Thank you for your time. And if you're a friend, hey, just chill. Throw me in the background. This is going to be about 2 hours. So I don't want to make these videos 2 hours long. That wasn't my intention. But what I am doing is just posting this video. This was me kind of mucking through the mud, and that's what this type of video is. This is me trying to figure it out. I took some suggestions. I won't dive into too much into that because I do mention that. A friend suggested that I just write through the code manually, so that's what I'm doing. I run into mistakes, I fix the mistakes, and then I add some stuff. So that's the synopsis of the video. For those of you that have done coding and spent hours just trying to figure things out, this is one of those videos. If you want to support me, again, please just throw it in the background. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Last thing, my bad. So there are audio issues in this video. There's nothing I can do because basically the audio just doesn't exist. It was one of the filters in OBS, and I fixed it. It was, what was it? The noise gate, and it was the open threshold. The open threshold, I had to adjust it to allow for more audio to come through, so that should be fixed in future videos. Again, I apologize. Just stick with it. What you miss is not much, so I just want to give you a heads up. I'm aware of that. Yep, enjoy. What's going on, everybody? So today I'm basically going to be diving into a video I'm going to be making in regards to a DevOps challenge that I'm doing, and it's 30 days, 20 projects, Monday through Friday. I'm already a few days behind, but I figured, let's dive in. Let's do, as much as I can. So I'm going to be getting caught up. All right, so the first day is a weather dashboard, and essentially it's just pulling data from an API that has a free tier and building it into a JSON and storing it into an S3 bucket, but it has to create the S3 bucket first. So essentially, they already wrote the code, but of course, you can just copy and paste and build a README and blah, blah, blah. What I'd like to do is I'd like to take this opportunity to step through this kind of basic project, kind of step by step. And you could argue whether it's basic or not, but what it does is pretty simple. And there are a lot of parts to it. So I think what I'm going to do in this video is I like to be a detailed oriented person. So I'm going to make references to things that you need to do, and then I can kind of leave some documentation from, for example, AWS S3. So documentation from that in the video description. Let's see. And then OpenWeather API, again, documentation can be for there as well if you want to reproduce this entire project. Now, there were some hurdles that I went into. I'll link the original video in the video description as well. But so first off, the .env environment variable, so environment variable file, there's a $ random, and I'll show you guys here in a minute. It wasn't working for me. It was working in the person's video. So I had to take a different approach. You don't really need to use it because it's just a matter of like making a very unique S3 bucket name. Literally everybody in the world has to use S3. So according to Amazon, it has to be unique. So that being said, let's dive in. So right here, we have the list of files. I believe this should be a room. Okay. So in here, we have a couple of folders. I was following the instructions, so there might be some use, something not. And that's just up to the instructions and the way that the project was designed for the purposes of why it was put in the project. So I didn't build this project, to be clear. This is something that I'm following through with so I can document myself. This video's purpose is to step through every part of this, kind of go from there. What I would like to show you guys real quick might be a local. Yeah, I don't see it. So it's definitely a local repo. So with that, let me see if I can find it real quick. Yes. Okay. So you can see we have the requirements file, weather CLI environment. Okay. So that's the name of the virtual environment that I created. That can be disregarded. You can name your VENV, virtual environment. You can name that whatever you want. So in here, what I'll go ahead and do is, so this is what I built. I'm trying to remember how I built it. I didn't build it by myself. That should be. But the point is I wanted to find. Oh, that's right. I forgot to put it on GitHub. I wanted to find a way that I could, use the skills that I have in regards to working with APIs in the past. So what I have done, that might actually. I don't know if I have it here. Basically, there's an old Android app that I made. It's a weather app called Stormy, because I haven't been utilizing that developer account. So basically, Stormy used Dark Sky before Apple bought it. Dark Sky was an API, had a free tier. It was actually really cool. Team Treehouse was the platform that I used that taught me how to build that. And what was really interesting about that is it taught me how to utilize the JSON data that comes from that API and how you kind of break it down. Excuse me. And how you piece it apart and get different pieces of data out of it. And it went so far as it was a hard-coded destination for the tutorial, but I changed a lot about it. I allowed you to, I implemented the Google Maps API to get, city information. You can use your zip code. Terrible idea. I'm really glad that it's not online anymore, because had I kept that published and people actually used it, they could, cost me a lot of money in regards to the API. Because I didn't have any recollection of, anything other than, build the app, free API. Yeah, that's all I understood, even though there were other tiers that cost money after you get to a certain number. So again, this weather app basically really just kind of, not only did it show the temperature, it would had some icons that would kind of change depending on the type of weather. So if it was stormy, cloudy, sunny, nighttime, snowing, any of those types of weather, they had an associated icon. And then you also could see, so you saw the time of, you saw like the weather at the time that you opened the app. You also saw like, I think it was hourly weather and day of the week weather. So it had like basically two other things it could do. And it was just all static. So what I did was I adjusted the app to essentially change the background color depending on the temperature. So that took a lot to figure out and learn. So that was really cool. So I'm kind of getting back into, developing applications. I do have some things I'm working on, old Java script applications that I've made, single web page, that kind of thing. And so my goal is not necessarily to be a software engineer, but working with Python is definitely something that you can use in DevOps or cloud engineering. So that's kind of the main reason why I wanted to dive into this DevOps challenge. So my goal for today is really just walk through. So thank you for chilling. I know I'm kind of going off the beaten path here, but I just wanted to really just kind of give a little bit of history on what I've done in the past. So there's some context as to, some of the things I may have knowledge of. So let's go ahead and dive into the weather dashboard. I basically copy and paste it and put it into a backup. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do this where we type it out. All right. So we want to import OS. So what is that? Well, what we can do, I have a couple of extensions in VS Code. One of them is continue. For those of you that don't know, it's basically here. Yeah. I do also have GitHub autopilot, but I'm not going to use that. But basically, this is continue, and you can kind of talk to it. This is from my skill map mentor app that I'm working on. So I have Llama 3 local. You can basically ask it, so I can give it some information here and say weather dashboard. There we go. Explain the import. Oh, Llama 3 is not running. So let's Llama. I use Alfred. You guys are familiar with that? If not, you should check it out. So let's run a Llama. I think I have 3.1. Have it downloaded. There we go. So in Python, OS is a built-in module that provides a way to interact with the operating system and access various operating systems. The import OS statement at the top of your weather _.py well imports the entire OS module. This allows you to use the various functions provided by the OS module in your Python code. For some examples, it does file system operations, environment variables, system information, process management, and path manipulation. So that's just a little bit of an example of what it does. All right. And then as we continue to dive through, I won't take too much time. I'm just going to do simple stuff like that. So folders here, because what we can do is just focus on projects. Or no, this is it. And then day, I believe. Okay, and then cd into weather. Source. Okay. So now we're in source. You can see that we have the weather pie, weather dashboard pie. Okay. We're going to do one. Okay, cool. So then, all right. So then we do import JSON. So what is JSON? Go ahead and keep this up and we're just say import JSON. Okay. Okay, so I think what it's doing is it's grabbing both the things that I said. It didn't say anything new. Okay, that's what it is. So I just did. So I can just say in here, explain import JSON import statement. So in Python, JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. The import JSON statement imports the built-in JSON module, which provides functions for working with JSON data. Here's what you can do with the JSON module: parse, serialize, load, or dump using those respective functions. And then it makes the JSON module available for use in your Python script. So you're going to see, and then here's an example of create a JSON string, and then you load the JSON string and you can print it. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to focus on, as we get further into this, we're going to just try to do this a little quicker. All right. Okay, so explain import photo3. Okay. Sorry for the knuckle cracking. Okay, so Photo3 is a popular library for working with AWS services. Import Photo3 statement imports Photo3 module, which provides a way to interact with various AWS services. Okay, so what we're going to focus on is the S3 client. So that's specifically the scope, and it does give you an example here. You can connect using credentials. So you basically, what this does is, I think what, I haven't used this version of it, but I think it'll open up and allow you to sign in so that you can use and basically all that. So the important part that I want to get to when we talk about S3 is the one thing that you want to focus on in building any application is security. And normally you're just trying to build an MVP. Not going to be super secure, but there are some simple things you can focus on. For example, you never want to expose your API keys. You can see here, right, like we're using an environment variable. So that's step number one. That's secure. The other thing is you want to make sure in your git ignore that it's not going to upload or .env, right? You don't want it to do that because otherwise that defeats the whole purpose of importing the environment variable. Now, a lot of times people don't talk about, you're doing tutorial, or they don't talk about, well, what do you do when you want to publish a project? What do you do with the environment variable, right? The reality is when you have it local on your machine, your system can pull that environment variable when it bundles the code, when it compiles the code into like one that I can think of off the top of my head. I use, but for example, Webpack, that's one. Basically, what it's doing is taking everything that you have, all of your files, and it's just compiling it down to like HTML, CSS. Like it's using the basic files that are used to load a website, and it just builds it in a way that the browser can understand. So, all right. So then what do you do with the variable, right? The variable has to be accessible in the web environment, right? So whatever is hosting that web application has to be accessible. So for example, if you were to, how would you like build an enterprise application? Let's just use we're talking about AWS. We'll just use AWS. On the surface, you could load EC2, which is a virtual machine. You can load Linux, and then you can, do, I got on my butt here. What I recall is you load up EC2. You know what? I got a great ask. I don't want to misspeak here, but what I understand it to be without looking it up is you host it. AWS obviously has secret management tools. That's the direction I was going. So they have secret management tools, so you can use those tools to import environment variables, secrets, that kind of thing. Utilize it in application. So let's ask Llama, how would we import environment variable in AWS hosting a web Linux OS? Okay. So when hosting a web application on a Linux-based EC2 instance, you can set and access environment variables using various methods. Here are a few ways to import an environment variable in AWS. So method one, you can use Elastic Beanstalk. If you're using Amazon Elastic Beanstalk to host your web application, you can set environment variables. So Elastic Beanstalk is essentially, and Amazon has a number of these, where like instead of you doing each individual component by yourself and configuring it all yourself, they have like bundled tools you can use that kind of just combine a lot of things together, right? So that's what Elastic Beanstalk is doing. So in the Elastic Beanstalk console, you can set up the environment variable. Let's see. And then your web application can then access these environment variables using dictionary Python. So it's just loading that all in there. So when you build a virtual environment, like I mentioned earlier, what I didn't explain was the purpose behind that is you kind of start from scratch. You have to import all of the necessary dependencies and any requirements that are needed, anything that's needed for the application to run properly. Example, we're importing OS, JSON, Boto3, quests, date, time, and stuff like that. So you definitely want to get all that installed. Okay, so let's see. There's a couple other methods here. You can use AWS System Manager. It's a service that allows you to manage and configure your EC2 instances, including setting environment variables. So this is the main point I was getting at, and probably why when I thought about it, I was like, well, wait a minute. There's like a number of different things. Using AWS System Manager parameter store, and then you can see the examples in here, and then using a startup script. So you can also set environment variables using a startup script that runs when your EC2 is up. This method requires creating an Amazon S3 bucket and uploading a JSON file containing environment variables. Create an S3 bucket and upload a JSON file with the desired environment variable in your Python script. Use the OS module to read the JSON file and access the environment variables. So this is a little bit more complicated. It's not as simple as just, oh, okay, I do this and I launch it there and it has direct access. There's going to be more, right? Like you got to have specific permission. Talking about the security side. So there's some things that I've already done for AWS. Let me see if it's going to work. AWS configure. So it already has stuff here, right? So this is all configured already. So, but how do you get to that point, right? Most of that will be blocked out for you. So where do you get trying to get my sea legs here, bear with me. Where do you figure out how to set up AWS? Well, first and foremost, you have to have an account. Okay. If you don't have an Amazon account, what you'll first get is a root account. Don't use that. Do not use that. That account is not supposed to be used for your everyday use. I have a secondary account that has delegated permission. So it is an admin account, but it's delegated and it is not the root. So then on top of that, this is a key, access key that's been, so in AWS's panel, they call them credentials. You build credentials for specific things. This key that I built was specific for this CLI, so I really wanted to make sure that there was some separation here. And so I have the user, but the user has credentials so that I can set them up in here. Okay. So you have to do all of that first before you can do something like this. And then the other thing you need to make sure is whatever your credentials, like whatever user you're going to create through IAM, you got to make sure it has proper authority to and permissions to then create an S3 bucket, for example, edit an S3 bucket. Like it gets pretty granular. Now, this specific admin does have the ability, it has those permissions to do that. But in a very secure environment, you do not want to have like an admin account that has full permissions. As I said, I am using one, but you really, in an enterprise environment, you really want to make sure it only has the permissions that it needs. Do not, don't focus on like whatever's easiest. That's a lazy approach. That's what a lot of people do, and then they don't realize that, and then later on they can fail because they have security. And they follow CIS controls, and you really want to make sure that you're following the best. And you don't have to do every single one of them because it does get a little monotonous, and some of it requires that you pay Amazon for certain services. So just be aware of that. You start enabling stuff, you think it's going to be free, and it may not. So just but I wanted to preface that because there's a lot more involved with just doing something as simple as creating an S3 bucket programmatically, like we're doing here. So we'll get back to the code, and I will pull this back out so you guys can see. Here's. All right, so let's just get back into this and let's dive in. This video is going to be a little long, but I really wanted to just kind of step through everything with you. So import requests. So if you're not, there are going to be other videos posted similar to this, but they're probably, well, may not be videos, but posts. So if you're like, hey, I don't want all this extra fluff, I don't want to listen to a guy talk for a long time, I'm sure there's other videos that kind of walk you through and they give you kind of the cliff notes. I just realized that I'm a detailed person, and I figured there might be some. So they have the patience to kind of sit through and listen to my perspective on it, which thank you if you are. Then we can, have more detailed videos on YouTube. Okay. So import requests. Talked about all the other three. So let's do this real quick. Plain import request. Import statement. Okay. So in Python, requests is a popular library for making HTTP requests, get, post, put, delete web servers. Import request statement imports request module, which provides a simple and intuitive way to send HTTP requests. And it gives you an example. It's actually going to do exactly what we're doing. It does an API example, sends a post, information, and that's basically it. Cool. So it's raining. All right. And then we are doing, see, it already knows what I'm trying to do. So we'll go ahead and hit tab. The autocomplete from complete is where that's coming from. So it's, I'd say. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. It's pretty cool. Okay. So then from, but I'm not going to do it. Kind of defeats. Okay. .env import load underscore .env. And then we want to load, so let's do a comment. Load environment variables. And then we want to do the load underscore .env. Okay. And then we're going to build the class weather dashboard. Not really a dashboard. Call it weather Sonic. Weather JSON. Weather JSON. Bucket. Description. Okay. So I'm not skilled in Python, so I'm going to have to do this. And I think this is, to be clear, I'm not trying to make this a tutorial. This is mainly for me to step through this. I have to like put myself through the process of, yeah, if you just want to put this on the background and just chill with me, that'd be dope. Okay, so I don't actually understand what def is. So in Python, what does def? What is or and what does? And the cool thing about this is Llama 3.1 is a larger contextual model. It's a little bit better than 3.0, but it's solely on my laptop. So I'm not using ChatGPT. Now, I could, but if you're interested in not paying for an AI model, this is a pretty good one, actually. I've been using it for a little while. Pretty helpful. I do prefer using ChatGPT for the other web projects that I'm using. But when I do stuff like this, okay. So bear with me just a minute. All right. Wait for just a minute. Back and okay. So we're defining what the statement is here. So in Python, the init method is a special method that is called when an object its optimizer or the constructor. Here's what it means. Def, this keyword defines a function or in this method in Python. Init, this is a special method name indicates the double underscores on either side of the word are convention in Python. Indicate a special magic method. Solve this as a signature. Self is a reference to the current instance of the class. Parentheses is parameter list. In other words, this method takes no arguments except for the. When you define a init method in Python class, it's called when an object of the class is created using parentheses. Operator. Okay. Class person, def init, self, name, age. Name equals name, self.age. So is this the same as in Kotlin, I believe? Like this dot. I think it's similar to that. Let's ask it. Is this similar to in Kotlin? This might refer to self Python. That correct. Kotlin, this keyword can indeed refer to the current instance of a class or object, where it's not exactly equivalent to itself. Okay. Why is that? Because some of you guys, excuse me, might be coming from, other languages. So it's just good to understand the difference. So here are some differences: implicit versus explicit. In Python, you need to use the self parameter explicitly when defining methods. In Kotlin, this keyword is implicit, meaning don't this or that is true. I do know and remember that I've had a lot of issues at being not. So could have just been weird bugs in language at the time. But anyways, moving on. Okay, so got to do a def init self, and then this is suggesting that we add a variable for bucket name, but the weather underscore dashboard backup doesn't have that. So why does it? Question. I think the only variable here that might. Actually, that's a good point because. Oh, you know what? I know why. Excuse me. I think I know why it's doing that based off all the available information. It doesn't know about the environment. We're gonna go ahead and and okay, so then it's okay, so then it sees that. So self dot API os dot get env get env open other API underscore key. Okay, so I think what we just did is we created the API underscore key variable with self dot API. Question though is why can we not do API underscore without the self? Okay, so self not. I'm trying to think like why I went with llama because there's like go GPT 4.0. I think it was just because it was the one that was. I do typically use ChatGPT, and I'm thinking about using it, but it was there. So, okay, we're doing bucket name equals os.getNV. We're gonna do a bucket name. Okay, and then we're basically just repeating it S3 client equals photo3.client. Okay, but let's talk about this statement because we created the S3 underscore client. Could simplify it just S. And then so Boto3 is the library that was imported dot client. So now we've used OS and now we've used Boto3. Sure if I'm you get the point. Okay. Then now we're done with that. Okay. We've defined the init function. So let's do def, and this is going to be the create bucket if not this. So let's talk about this because why do we have self? We have self because we have the API key, we have the bucket name, we have S3 underscore client. Okay. I know this may seem like I'm saying things in a way that might be a tutorial-esque vibe, I guess, but I'm saying it out loud because I'm like also trying to make myself think too. Okay, so it looks like we're doing a essentially a try catch, try accept, try self.s client.head bucket. So I don't actually understand that. Let me finish writing it out and then I'll excuse me. Okay, so I don't actually understand. I'm gonna ask Mama to explain this. Their dashboard. It's going to take a minute to load. Okay, so I got down here to the method try block. We attempt to head ping specified bucket using s3 underscore client dot head bucket method. Bucket exists. This method will without raising. Okay. Well, we haven't gotten that far. So it's like, hey, are you there? A really cool song that says that. Song that I like. Okay, so we want to print something. So the F string cat name bucket bracket self dot bucket name exists, then accept int bucket name. Try not to tab as much. Okay, so we'll do another try. Gonna be simpler s1 self dot s client dot create bucket full self dot bucket name Alrighty, so it's definitely the next day. We're in a different outfit. Had a lot of things pop up yesterday. So I had to pause the recording and take care of that. Okay, so we are essentially at the line number 25 and we are printing. So let's go ahead and print. Off the top of my head, I'm forgetting what this is called, but I am Python. If is necessary to allow you to put variables in the print statement. Otherwise, you can't. Example, if I were to do this by itself, successfully created bucket dot bucket team. It doesn't look this. Doesn't look like it. Then we add. I know this either it just doesn't work at all, period, or it has a different function. I just can't remember. You press the letter F, and there you go. Variable print. So then we have an exception. Oh, I did this wrong. Okay, that's there, and that's okay. Then we do the exception at E. Then we'll go ahead. All out. Okay. F. The double quotes. Error reading bucket. Error E. Okay. that's it. Then we're going to do another function. So def fetch underscore weather. I want it to have self, so it has those variables. City. I believe we're declaring variable because it hasn't been defined yet. So a lot of my experience comes from a little web development. Not saying and it talk about it, but I think these videos will definitely help me, and I hope they really help you. Okay, so again, I don't intend for these to be like, or at least this one to be a tutorial just yet, because I need to kind of get my sea legs. I'm trying to make sure that I am just starting to make videos rather than waiting for the perfect and all that kind of stuff, because then you get procrastination. Okay, so def, let's actually scroll down. So, okay, so then we get in here and we're doing triple double brackets, fetch weather data from OpenWeather. That's a good question. I actually don't know why that's doing that. Do triple and that will go fine. And we're doing base URL i.openweather.org. So the issue with this is that we're talking about security. So when I notice something that I'm definitely aware of is a security issue, and by no means am I trying to say I'm an expert. I've just studied and got a few certs, so I have a little bit of knowledge. And then in my MSP experience working for managed service providers, I've seen firsthand like what happens when like just basic security. So that's kind of where that comes from. So the issue here, I'll just ask you, Dora the Explorer, what do you see on the screen? Sorry, I couldn't help it. So right here, right off the bat, HTTP, it's not encrypted traffic. So the issue I see with this is the API key is exposed. So people will be able to use like having a brain fart right now, but basically software that does packet sniffing. Wireshark, there you go. That's one of them. And you could get the API key. If anything's in clear text when it's being transmitted and you can look at the packets, yeah, definitely possible. Okay, so params equals, so what are we doing here? We are creating a JSON object that's sending this request to the API, trying to get back. So we're doing queue. Now, interesting, it suggested single quotes versus double quotes. And then we'll just finish the city. ID, so app ID, self, API key, so that's the API key. And then units, this is imperial. So for those that don't know, this is essentially Fahrenheit versus Celsius. So here. All right, and that closes that up. So let's look and see what the what Llama 3.1 came up with. So triple quotes in Python. In Python, triple quotes are used to define multi-line strings or docstring. Here's what they're good for. Multi-line strings. Triple quotes allow you to define a string that spans multiple lines of code. You can use either triple quotes, three double quotes, and then or single quotes and then 3 tildes. Single quotes. Yeah, they look like tildes. Those aren't single quotes. Single? Hold on. Yeah, that's weird. That's a single quote. That's tilde. Where is that? That's confusing. What is that? No, that's right. Oh, that's what that is. Yeah, that's not a tilde. The tilde is a squiggly thing. Anyways, as you can see, here's an example. It allows you to just write the string and you don't have to worry about doing double quotes line. triple quotes to start, and then you do triple double quotes to. So that's basically it. Okay, so next we're just going to keep going down the line here. I have another 15 minutes, and I'll be pausing the recording review. Ty, wish me at 11:30. Comes admin. Any luck there? Okay, so we did doing fetch. Okay, we did fetch weather here. Okay, so we're still in the same block. Let's give another line. Try response. So the response from the API request. So that's the library we imported. Getting the response. That's the method, and so we're going to use the base URL, and then we're going to enter the parameters. So we basically just called it the same. No, it's just waiting for me. Okay. Response dot raise for status. That's a good question. So does this mean request question, and we'll keep going. All right, so return response.json. Okay, so return, get that exception. We're gonna do that here. Except requests, exceptions, request single. That's how you get a as E. So be careful about that. Print F. Don't forget F. Error. Weather data. Okay. Turn none. Returning. Basically, in Kotlin, I believe we would just return either blank, or you could make it null and then just handle the null exception. F save to S3. Right, and then we do self because we want to bring those variables in. Weather data because we want to bring that in, and then there's a city, which I still think. Oh, okay. So here's what it is. These are again. Okay, this makes sense. These are functions. It's taking in a city variable, which hasn't been defined yet. I believe we're going to define it a little bit lower in the code base or in the file here. So what's confusing about this is why are there triple double quotes when it's not needed? So I'm going to take a guess and say it's not needed to have triple quotes when right there, unless in Python, specifically Python, those that might be the case. So this is defining the string, but in here, raw string. So in Python, you could use triple quotes to define raw strings, which are strings that preserve white space and don't interpret backslashes, escape character. Okay. I guess the question is this like a comment? This has got to be a comment then. Let's test that. So if I take this right here, I go up to edit, toggle line comment. No, that's what I thought. I thought whatever. We don't need to stick too much on it. Dig into that later. Okay, so if not weather data false. And just so you know, it has to be capital F or else it's not interpreted as a false. So just so you know. That does come from the couple of Python modules. No, so doing this line by line. Shout out to Stetson, owner and creator of the IT support group. He suggested that I just type it out. I was going to do something different with these projects, but I just decided just to type it out and just talk about it, and just people want to hang out and do it with me. definitely learn, or you can use your AI, local AI like this. So if you can't, I mean, ChatGPT is free, but if you can't, or just personally don't want to deal with anything, accounts and nothing like that, you literally can just download Olama, install it, run it like I'm doing, and it'll get the job done for the most part. Or you have Google. So, strf time. Then we're doing percent capital Y, percent M, percent D dash percent H, percent uppercase M, uppercase S as well. Okay, and that all looks good. So this right here, this you can basically, it depends on the library you're using, but this is pretty much the format anywhere you time and date formatting. And personally, I'm not going to bother with this. I'm just going to leave it alone. But I do personally like the month, day, year, and then I like to do hour. Personally, I like to do military time. So you do the hour of military time, the minute, and the second. The reason for that sometimes is if there's multiple executions. Now, granted, if you're doing something that's crazy fast and you have multiple executions every second, then I think you need to probably do like another. I don't know if it has like microseconds. Probably add that too. Okay, so got that file name equals f weather data. So this is building a string. City, taking in the city variable is going to be built here later. So this is actually just an variable until the runs, and we give it the city variable. Okay, weather underscore data. I'm going to go a little faster because a lot of this we basically already kind of through. So you're just hanging out with me. Okay. The elf dot put object. Now this will not work. Keep in mind this will not work if you haven't already in the terminal below done AWS space configure, not config. I can't speak to why config would work for you, but it didn't work for me, so I had to do config. But always reference documentation for CLI commands for any library API. Okay, we're doing a bunch of variables that are configuring JSON object. That's going to do s type equals location. I need to stop. 10 minutes. Okay. And then print f successfully name 3. So basically the file is the weather data, the file name, and then from there it's all the data that we pulled from the API. The good thing about this is it is, remember the capital T or capital F, true or false. It is helping us learn how to handle data from an API. Like you can do anything. You don't have to do a JSON. You whatever you need for your needs. Like pull the data from an API and put it into a database like MongoDB or Supabase. Okay. Exceptions. So error 3. Okay. False. And if you don't have the colors that you're seeing in my situation, here in my environment in VS Code, it's just plugins or just extensions. Like you can install like Python, for example. They are mostly just language specific. We're doing the last function, which is main. So essentially down, and we're gonna do main. If we scroll a little bit, we can see that. And so def main. So this is where all the work's gonna get done, right? dashboard, weather dashboard. Okay. And then create bucket if needed. So dashboard. Now I did create bucket. This is okay. Cities. This is cities that we talked about. These are where they get defined. You know what we're gonna do? Houston, Austin, Houston. Okay. So for city in cities, print F fetching. So this is essentially saying, hey, put this on a new line. For data equals dashboard fetch city. So now these are the functions that we're calling, and we're putting the information in there. And so if weather data main feels so it looks like pulling from in the JSON object, and we're looking for feels like in the JSON data where humidity their main humidity. I know it's easier to do this, but at least in this example, I'm just trying to do it. Temperature is temp. I actually don't know how to do that symbol, so tab print feels in humidity. So humidity feels like tab print. Oh, there. Okay. In singular it. Then save to S3. Yes. Board. Yes. Three. Four. Okay. If name and that's it. And that's pretty much it. So, all right. So now that we've basically walked through all of the code and typed it all out, we fully understand kind of what's going on. So we know that the imports, we know what the imports do, kind of walk through that. You load the dot m, basically loading the environment variables. and we determine the class. So class, and I think this is not going to work because I did rename it weather dashboard. So scroll up. Yeah, it's called weather dashboard. So weather dash. You have to update this. So I just did Control F and found it. There's no other instances because it's defined in the main function. Okay. Now that we've done that, that's pretty much it. So we want to ls. I want to make sure that we can see it. Weather dashboard. So you got to type Python 3. Weather. Actually, you know what? We are not in our developer or our virtual environment. So let's do this. Source. I want to say, yeah. So source event. Okay. I know I don't need to go to bin, but I at least need to go to source dot slash activate. The command. What am I doing? I have AI. How to activate virtual Python is running. Okay. So basically source should be under src. So src, so then just v and vev bin slash activate, because I know that's there. First confused. That is there. Oh, you got to do the dot backslash. So yeah, that's what I thought. So do dot activate. There we go. I knew I had parts of it. Okay, cool. So now we've activated our developer environment. Do pip install just in case. Must give at least one pip. Our requirements in the list of files. Yes. I did not show you that. So let me just install it and I'll show. I thought it was -R. Misread the or misremembered. Let's just do. Could not find a version that satisfies. See, that's what I did. I did that. Pip. Oh, I didn't put install -R. That's probably what it was. So, okay. Well, where you put your argument flags do matter. Do not open requirements. No such file. Oh, okay. I know what I got to do. I'm over here assuming that it's in the source, but it's not. So we're going to basically. I did a lot of commands while I was in a virtual environment. Okay, so pip install -R, and we're going to do. We need to get. That would get us out of the src requirements. Yes, perfect. Okay, cool. So you learned something new. So if you're trying to go back a folder, because we're in the src, so if I did cd list requirements. So, you know, it is what it is. I know I was in src first. Okay, so we've already satisfied all the requirements. I just wanted to make sure of that. And then we do Python 3. And then we do weather underscore dashboard.py, and that's it. So we have an error. Can't open the file. No such file. Sorry. Oh, yeah, I did the same thing again. That's a mistake. So we just do src/, and there we go. So now we understand there's an error. So it doesn't like the fact that I renamed the weather. Look, so they're all going to be debugging when you're. This is the main part of why I did want to make a video on this, because some people just want to go through, copy paste, publish it on GitHub, and boom, you're good. But if I'm interviewing, like I did earlier today, if I'm interviewing for a position and they want to pull up this library and talk about it, I need to be able to understand every part of it, right? Okay, so let's look at these errors really closely. So line 11, so let's go to line 11. And what the okay? In module class weather JSON bucket, because it's not a dashboard. I don't know why it was named dashboard, but there's no interactive GUI, right? So I just wanted to rename it to that. So let's try to think about, maybe there's a problem because, well, but I don't. So line 97, 7. Main is called, so let me go to main. Oh, I misspelled dashboard. Why? There, I can tell you that's it, right? And then it shows you right here. Boom. And then it says that's not defined because I called it dashboard. Okay, so typos, like I said, can be a pain. All right, let's do it again. And there's more errors. Okay, so it says weather JSON is not defined. So let's look at the original. Dashboard equals weather dashboard. Dashboard equals weather JSON bucket. So if we take this guy, do Control F, paste it, in there, class weather dashboard. So if we take this up, class weather JSON bucket. The question I have is like, why is it having a problem? So it says it's not defined, but it is top. Literally, it's just a name change. It's not the same name. Better. Okay. Try it again. The same problem. Name weather JSON bucket is not defined. Well, there's capital letters in the first one. I know it's not a case sensitive issue. Otherwise, this one would have a problem. So let's just do this then. Just for giggles, let's go ahead and just make it the same, which I don't agree with. And it's not reflected. So see if it'll let us do it. Okay, so it's saying it's not defined. Okay, so what did I miss? I missed something. Main dashboard. So the name doesn't matter. It looks like it shouldn't matter. Okay, so everywhere dashboard is mentioned, I think it's spelled. Not the problem. Look closer at this. Line 70. Okay. So here's a good question. If I run underscore backup, does that work? Okay, something's going on. I'm pretty sure it's going to air out because it happened really quickly. Come on. The same folders. That shouldn't be a problem. And I know the original one works because I ran it and I saw it working. So but that's another. Oh, here we go. Looks like it just took time. Okay, so we know successfully that, and we're going to have to change. I'm going to make you look at my face for a second. Get in here. Adjust. Bucket name. All right. So interesting. Oh, it was the backup, so it has the backup city. Wondering why I had the and the backup. Okay, so we manually typed this entire thing. So obviously there's going to be some problems. So we need to just kind of piece through this a little bit. I don't need the AI too much anymore. So we can. So we know it works, right? Because the one that's copy and pasted does work, but we need to understand what's going on. Let's just look at this thing side by side. And so far, I think in the problem. No, everything looks. It's this. Create S3 bucket if it doesn't exist. Oh, I missed that. Okay, so I got that, and it should affect it, like having that or not having that. Plus, it's not even class, right? So everything looks good. Fetch weather, fetch. Yep. Oh, because it's selected here, but not here. So we got that. So parentheses are selected. No, no semicolons are required. This. Oh, F tabbed over one. Missing something. All these are highlighted yellow. That's the only thing I think of because these are highlighted yellow too. They're not. So yes, problem. I don't see the problem. Okay, let's see if Llama can do this. So let's reference having an issue with weather underscore dashboard .py running, but weather underscore backup .py does in fact. And you guys are probably catching this before I do if you know Python. So if you do, let me know in the comments. Let's try to do code base. I think that. Oh wow, it actually read the files, took in the context, and talking about it. Wow, Llama 3.1 is pretty nice. Let's ask it, can you use diff No, can you analyze both files and tell me what's different? See, only like less than 100, so should be fine. Okay, so it says it should work, so let's try it again. So weather underscore dashboard.py. I'm so confused. That is not saved because I auto save. So, all right, let's just not focus on that right now. Because if I'm pressing AI here, it says it's not defined. 71. Go to 90. Oh, 71. Let's go to 71. Dashboard. I feel like there's an extra return line somewhere. Like here, create bucket if needed. Oh, I must have tabbed that. Okay, so let's just see if we can. See if just setting that up. Oh, it still has a problem? All right. Tell me what the problem is with the trace back showing errors. Not. This error typically occurs when the class, whether ported or in the file being executed. Isn't that exactly what we did? So def main dashboard equal weather dashboard. I know the name shouldn't matter. If it's a cache issue, like the naming convention can be whatever the heck we want it to be. Um, Sure that I class the class correct class definition class. That's where it's confusing. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's grabbing the class from the other file. So just for shits and giggles, let's call this weather or dashboard. That shouldn't be a problem now. Now we should be good. So still. Wait. Yeah, that's yeah. So this is supposed to be the one I'm working on. So third. Okay, so it's still a problem. I really do think it's. I think it's a problem. Or VS Code. Okay. Neck. All right. So we cleared it up. Actually, we need to start the virtual environment. Go clear. This is so confusing. I don't actually know. I have no idea. GitHub can't help. I think it's literally the fact that there's a class with the same name in the code base and it doesn't understand what to do with it because you can import other classes from other files. That's what I think the problem is. I think the problem is they originally were named the same and now they're not. And so I think if I clear the cache, that might help. Error is occurring because the last name is directly dashboard. Weather dashboard. Okay. Up. Okay, let's just do this. Let's just delete this file now. Okay, so now we literally only have this file. So we can do this again. Okay, so need to clear cache VS Code. I think it exists in another file. That other file has been deleted. The class is referenced properly. what the issue is and what line the problem is on. Problem is line 71. So it says that, and it's frustrating. So is it just because it's not? If it's the parentheses. Okay, so I didn't have parentheses. Can't remember to the but let's see. See, that's not the problem. I don't think the other one had parentheses. I was looking at that. I don't understand the problem. See if I break it, run it, fix it. I'm at a loss. Still a problem. All right, if this doesn't work, I'm going straight to SUV. I have to do the indentation. There we go. See, now we're getting somewhere. Ensure that the main function is not indented inside the class definition. This should resolve the name. Okay. Okay. Maybe it was off by like a space. Hold up. I have an idea. Go in here. Spaces. Out of here. How can I see what I'm hiding? That's 4 space. Definitely not 4 spaces. That's the problem. Okay, how many? Oh, that's okay. So that's the thing. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If that's the, come on, man. Is that the problem? Almost. We're almost there. 98. Name area. The name main is not defined. Are you kidding? Okay, so then now I think we have a spacing. Yep. Okay. See, look at this. Look at this mess. Look at this. Look at this. This is really, yep. Really, that's really what's going on. Okay. It was just indentation. So there you go. We all learned something new today. So this should work just fine. Okay. So, oh, here we go. All right, cool. So it did it for Houston. Didn't like it for Austin. Description. Did I spell description wrong? Description. No, that's fine. The main description is not defined. Dude, are you kidding me? All right, let's. Okay, so here's the good news. We're all learning something right now. We're all learning how important it is to not rush, because I know I was working on getting things ready for my interview, or I was actually already. I was get this, but you know, hey, no problem. We are learning together. Okay. So description and that. Fix it. Boom. What else is the problem? What else did I break? else did I not do? Okay. So 92, save to S3. Okay. Attribute error, weather underscore dashboard object has no attribute, save underscore 2. But this is confusing because this works. So dashboard is class, save to S3. Right after fetch weather. Talk about the problem. It's yeah, indentation. Whoops. Yeah, indentation was just, yeah. This is ridiculous, man. Why did I make those mistakes? I guess I didn't realize. So okay, so the lesson here is main can only be one indentation. Well, no indentation main. So then from there, the functions, if outside, okay, so the main function has to be out there. And then for this, essentially, I just didn't have the proper indentations for the class and definitions of the functions within. Okay, so that's all that was. All right, well, that's fair. That's, I understand it. I think that's the point. And I think for many people who are having issues like this, hey, well, we know it's working, so that's cool. Okay, and it's done. So it's working properly. Awesome. So we have weather for Houston. Houston is 41 degrees. Feels like 33. Yeah, you damn Skippy, because I was outside and grabbing a package. Terrible. Humidity, what the heck? Be definitely a lot lower than that because it's cold. Conditions, overcast clouds. Yep. And then it saved all that, so we're good. So I think the only thing that I may want to, so then okay, so this is actually what I was looking to do. So you don't want to keep things in S3 that you don't build for. So maybe we do instead of save to S3, maybe we eat the bucket. So, but I don't think we can do that in main just out of nowhere. I think when we call it, we have to call it with a parameter that just says delete, right? So we can ask, how do I run Python 3 weather dashboard py and use a parameter like delete to delete the bucket I created. Okay, so this is interesting. So if you're here, I just want to point this out because the original video has a random variable in the environment variables file. I do not. I'm hard coding. So because I'm hard coding, I can actually delete it because it'll just reference the bucket name. But you would want to, if you're randomly creating it, you would then have to find a way to store it and then retrieve the bucket name. You'd have to read the bucket name. And ideally, you only have one in this use case. Technically, like if this is a fresh, brand new Amazon account, you can actually just delete buckets because this is the only bucket that you've created. But I think the challenge is you'd have to build sort of an interactive menu where it just gives you a list of buckets and select the one you want to delete. It runs the delete. So for me, I simply just want to, the feature I want is just simply to delete the hard-coded bucket name. And so that's what I want to do. Let's ask. Okay. There's the delete bucket right here. No, so that's, let's remember all the indentations and everything, right? Gotta keep the mic close to me because apologies. I realized when I was editing that I didn't have enough context to finish this all out and actually run it so you guys can see it, right? But then I also realized that if I'm too far away, then the audio lags behind picking up the audio. So my apologies. Okay, so all we got to do is right under create the bucket. So right here, make sure the def, I don't know what def stands for. Delete bucket, and we will definitely want to give it self because we need that bucket name. And then delete S3 bucket. Okay. Try self.s3 client.delete bucket. I can see that's the same. Okay. Bucket and then bucket will self.bucket name. And then print f successfully deleted bucket, and we self.bucket name. Okay. And we want to do the exception as E, and then we want to print error leading bucket error. Okay. So according to GitHub Copilot, that's all we need to do for that. We come down here to main, scroll down, and then it's having us. Okay, so we're adding stuff to this. Okay, we're doing parser equals arg parse. It already knows what we're doing. Argument parse description equals weather dashboard. Again, I don't know why that word. Parser add argument. We want to do action. And we want to do choices equal. It looks like we're doing an array or an object. So run delete. Okay. Not period, we're doing a comma. And then help equals action. Action to, can't see the action to perform. Okay. And then this one just says args equals parser dot parse args. Okay. So that's it. So it's interesting. So this, I think it's just assuming that run just means run main. So it's not doing anything. So then we just add args.action. Actions or action. Yes. Okay. All right, cool. So clean that up again. What did I spell wrong? Parser equals arg parse. Okay, why is that a problem? Name arg parse is not defined. Did you forget to import arg parse? Ooh, good point. Good point. Ahaha! See? See? Keeping us on our toes. Import arg parse. I did forget to do that because I didn't notice that. Okay, cool. Oh. Okay, so maybe I'm doing the thing wrong. Actually, that's what I did. That's what I typed. Did I type delete wrong? So let's scroll down because we gotta pay attention. Run delete. What? Ooh, so we got to add something to main. Okay, that's what we missed. All right, so let's go down here. Okay, under defining dashboard, then we do if action, because I didn't define the action. That makes sense. Delete, then we do dashboard dot delete bucket, and then we just return. And then everything, that's why if it's run, then run just, you know, that's it. Cool. So then delete. Okay, then did I miss something? Oh, action. See? Action. Deleting bucket, an error occurred. Bucket not empty. When calling delete bucket operation, the bucket you tried to delete is not empty. Oh. Says I can't delete a bucket that is not empty. What do I do? Delete an S3 bucket that is not empty. You need to first delete all the objects within the bucket. You can modify the delete bucket method to delete all objects before deleting the bucket itself. Okay, so then it's adding a little bit more to before we do the try. Is it under the try? Yes, it is. So it's going to be list all objects in the bucket. No. Objects equal self dot s3 client dot list objects d2 bucket equals self dot bucket name. Let me get this. Okay. Whoa. Back over here. What? Okay. So can I increase like what this? That's way too much. I'll figure that out later. Okay, so we're at this line, and we've done the object. So then we do the if statement right after that. Okay, so if trying to find out where I was in there. Contents in objects and forget the self dot s3 client dot delete objects. That's delete object, not plural. We do bucket self dot bucket name e object. Yeah, I need to study that. Print deleted object. Must be a key value pair. Like a map, you know? That's what I think. That's what I'm assuming that it is. Similar to key from, what does it say? From self bucket name. Okay, and then it does the deletion of the bucket. We'll go ahead and, whoops. Add that. Do that there. Okay. All right. Let's just scour this a little bit, see if there's anything else I'm missing. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Right. Hmm. That's confusing. Just because I want to test it. And paste. Oh. That's what I forgot. I forgot the for loop. So for object in objects contents. We have an if and then we do the for. Okay. So that basically does the self delete object. Okay. All right. And then I have to punt those two things. Okay. So then that makes that proper. That looks good. Good. Okay. Let's try it. What? Hmm. What am I getting wrong? Because it can't do it. I know. That's why it's. This is getting confusing. Okay, let's just see at least if I'm missing anything. I am. So look at the if statement. Okay, so that's where the problem. We need that. Okay. Awesome! It worked. Perfect. So then we can either run it by itself. Oh, you have to do run because that's how it's defined. But what if we can? Okay, let's step a little bit above what that thing's telling us. The AI, and let's just do nothing as an option, right? So then if action equals run, I think I'm just going to do this, get all this. Okay. How do we? Or wait, there is no return. I don't want to do that if it causes if main actions. Okay. Ooh. Okay. This is something I don't know how to do with syntax, but I understand it. So it's like if it's either this or that, right? So how do I do an if statement for if it's this or that, do X? So that's what I want to do for run, because then run can be run or empty. Is it straight up that simple? So then we do or equal action equals nothing. Ah ha ha ha. Okay, so we can do it, but I did. So the action is empty. Choices. Okay. How do I run the file without using an argument if I don't need to? We can keep run, but I'd like to allow it to use run or delete or nothing. Run. Okay. We already know it'll delete all the objects. We already know that. See? Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. Ah, ha, ha. See, I was right about that. Well, I mean, it told me what to do with the or, but I was right about that being an idea, and it went with it. So that's cool. That makes you feel nice, doesn't it? Run create bucket if yeah, I have that. I think the problem is all of this needs tabbed over. All of okay, yeah. Okay, so and fine. Oh, it has more. Huh. So what is narcs? So we just type ergs. And alt. Oh, so what we're doing is we're giving a default. We're telling arguments to say, hey, if there's nothing provided, the default is okay. What? That's amazing. It works. That's so cool. Okay. So what's nice about this is we created it, right? And then we know it worked. All right. So you guys can see. So when I run this with in here, run delete. So delete. Okay. So I'm going to hit enter, but before I do, I'm going to switch back over to mark. Delete. Okay. It did confirm. Then if we refresh here, we go. The other ones were deleted. I'll delete these. Okay. Here. Eat. Okay. All right. So config bucket. Oh, I know why. if you have AWS configured, I think. Okay, so sweet. We have confirmed, so I can go ahead and we'll go code. All right. I mean, that's pretty much it. Not only did we develop, well, the code was given, we went through it together, and we made some mistakes. And on top of all of that, we added another feature to delete the AWS S3 bucket, and then we ran into a problem because we couldn't delete the bucket without deleting the content. So we had to do let's see what we had. Under the method or the function, it does a try and except. It defines the objects, it does an if statement, and then it does a for loop through objects in contents. I think that's something specific. So like if you were to spell contents wrong, I think problems. So make sure that whenever something is not like a hard-coded like method, like for example, create underscore bucket, excuse me, that's a method. In this case, excuse me, it's having you reference specific strings. So we have to reference contents, right? So very exciting. This is actually, I'm excited because this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to take what they were going to give me, even if they wrote the code, and I wanted to understand it myself. I wanted to step through it, but I also wanted to add, my own little spin. That's what I like to do. When I do tutorials, I don't like to just do the tutorial online. I like to add to it. Yeah, that's kind of the way I like to do stuff. So if you guys like this kind of stuff, let me know. Thank you for hanging out with me for this video. This is basically going to be a first of. It's going to be, like I said, I have a goal of doing 100 videos. And that's basically it. So I know this video, I'm going to do the best I can to edit things that are not necessary. But I did pause recording. So those of you that have made this far, again, thank you for your time. And I hope you've learned something. If you would like, put in the comments down below if you'd like for me to make a video on OpenWeather API. More than happy to make one. And if you want a video on how to set up AWS account, I can do that as well. Just let me know. Yeah. So here's my road to 100 videos. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.